You would not last a week. Not out there. Not in the world your ancestors lived in for 300,000 years before anyone thought to build a wall or plant a seed. You don't know which plants are safe. You can't read weather in the sky. You've never tracked an animal or started a fire without a lighter. Everything you need to survive has been handled by someone else your entire life. Your ancestors had none of that, and they ran the planet. Roughly 50,000 years ago, a group of humans crossed into Australia for the first time. They arrived on a continent that had never seen anything like them, a landscape of megafauna so large and so fearless that they had no instinct to flee, giant wombats the size of cars, flightless birds 3 meters tall, a lizard longer than a modern crocodile. Within a few thousand years, 85% of Australia's large animal species were gone, not from climate change, not from disease, from us. The first humans to reach Australia didn't adapt to that environment. They restructured it. And what they used wasn't strength. It wasn't numbers. It was something far more dangerous. Knowledge so precise and so deeply accumulated that it functioned less like instinct and more like engineering. That knowledge is mostly gone now, but the evidence of what it built is still everywhere, if you know how to read it. Most people picture ancient humans reacting to nature, huddling from storms, fleeing predators, foraging whatever they could find. That picture is wrong. By at least 50,000 years ago, humans across Africa, Australia, and the Americas were deliberately setting fire to landscapes on a scale that is almost impossible to visualize. Not accidental fires. Controlled burns. Carefully timed, precisely placed, systematically repeated across generations. Archaeologist David Pine at the University of Utah has spent decades documenting the burn patterns left in soil and pollen records around the world. What he found was not random charcoal. It was a schedule. The same areas burned at the same time of year, generation after generation, for thousands of years. They were managing the land the way a farmer manages a field. Except the field was an entire continent, and the farmers had no word for what they were doing. They just knew that fire cleared the undergrowth, that new grass grew back richer and faster, that the animals they hunted followed that new grass, and that the plants they needed fruited more heavily after a burn. They weren't living inside an ecosystem. They were operating one. And here's the part that changes everything. Many of the landscapes we now call pristine wilderness, the open savannas of Africa, the grasslands of North America, the open eucalyptus forests of Australia, are not natural. They are the result of tens of thousands of years of deliberate human burning. What we are trying to preserve, in some of the most protected wilderness areas on Earth, is a garden. A garden whose gardeners are gone. But fire was only one tool. The deeper mastery was something harder to see and almost impossible to measure. Your ancestors carried a library inside their heads, not metaphorically. Literally. In cultures without writing, knowledge about the natural world, which plants flower in which season, where water collects after rain, which animal trails lead where, what the color of the sky means at dawn in late summer, was encoded into song, into story, into ceremony, and transmitted with a precision that modern ecologists are only beginning to appreciate. Anthropologist Fikret Berkes at the University of Manitoba spent years documenting what he called traditional ecological knowledge among indigenous communities across the Arctic and subarctic. What he found stunned the scientists who reviewed it. These communities could predict fish migration patterns, caribou herd movements, and sea ice behavior with an accuracy that matched or exceeded satellite modeling. Not because they had better technology, because they had better data. Thousands of years of continuous, careful, multi-generational observation encoded into cultural memory and passed down intact. One Cree elder described it this way: "The land tells you what it needs. You just have to have been listening long enough to hear it." Modern science has been listening for about 200 years. They had been listening for 50,000, but there was a cost. This knowledge wasn't just accumulated, it was weaponized. The same understanding of animal behavior that let them predict migrations, let them engineer extinctions. The same fire management that built grasslands wiped out the species that couldn't adapt to them. The same ecological precision that kept a tribe alive could be, and was, turned against competing groups, against rival territories, against entire species that occupied land someone else wanted. Ancient humans weren't stewards of nature. They were its most effective predator. Every megafauna extinction that followed the arrival of modern humans on a new continent tells the same story. Australia, North America, Madagascar, New Zealand. The pattern is always identical. Humans arrive, large animals disappear, not slowly, fast. We didn't fall out of balance with nature in the industrial age. We were never in balance. We are the only species in the 4 billion year history of life on this planet that has never fit cleanly into an ecosystem without rewriting it. Are we already doing it again? Just slower? And with better excuses? In 2011, a team of ecologists led by Early Ellis at the University of Maryland published a paper that reframed the entire history of human land use. After analyzing soil records, pollen samples, and archaeological data from every inhabited continent, they concluded that by 3,000 years ago, thousands of years before the Industrial Revolution, humans had already transformed more than half of Earth's ice-free land surface. Not damaged it, transformed it, shaped it. Made it into something it would not have been without us. The paper's conclusion was quiet, but devastating. There is no baseline. There is no pristine natural world that existed before human interference, because humans have been interfering deliberately, systematically, at continental scale, for as long as we have existed. The wilderness isn't what we destroyed. It's what we built, and then forgot we built. Your ancestors mastered nature not by conquering it from outside, but by becoming so deeply embedded in it that the line between the human world and the natural world dissolved entirely. They didn't manage ecosystems. They were the ecosystem. And somewhere in the last 10,000 years as we built walls and planted fields and moved our food supply indoors, we stepped outside that relationship. We kept the tools. We lost the knowledge that made the tools mean something. The wilderness we are trying to save is a memory of something we made. The instincts we're trying to recover are the ones we traded away for comfort. What does it mean to protect a nature that has always been ours? And what kind of species are we when there's nothing left that needs mastering? Your ancestors spent 300,000 years answering that question with their lives. We've spent the last 100 pretending it doesn't apply to us anymore. Tell me in the comments, do you think we've lost something real? Or did we just upgrade?